Microsoft Excel, Chapter 1, Blue Box 6. In this exercise, we're going to learn how to wrap text when text is too big for the cell. Right now, you can see in A2, we have Indigo 5 and the Silver Moon Lounge. That text, if I select A2, we can see in the formula bar is exactly what I've typed into A2, and I can actually see it even though it is spilling onto what we would refer to as B2. It's not in B2. Notice if I move over and activate B2, there's nothing there. That's different than what we see when we typed in New Mexico suppliers earlier in a previous exercise. Notice I cannot see the R and the S in suppliers, and that is because what we see in the cell immediately to its right in D5, there actually is something in that cell. So Microsoft has the practice of allowing text to spill over into the next cell if it's empty. If it's not empty, then it's going to get cut off, as we see in this example here with New Mexico Supplier and Southwest Bros. In general, Microsoft will put what we have in a single line within a cell. However, we do have the ability to wrap the text so it will show up on multiple lines. There are two distinctly different ways of creating that text wrap look. We'll see an example of this in the cell A3 with the food distributor analysis. If I want to force that to go on two separate lines, then I can even decide where I want the break to be. By default, Microsoft will try to figure it out that whatever the last word, if it's text, that doesn't fit would move to the next line. But in this particular exercise, we're going to force it to make sure that its analysis on the second line and food distributor remains on the first line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the editing mode. And there's two different ways in which I will enter the editing mode. One is to use function F2. Notice it's as if I'm retyping in everything that I had there and I haven't hit enter yet. The other way I can do it is I can just take my mouse and double click exactly where I want my cursor to go. I enter the editing mode here as well. The assignment has us, since we're going to end at after the R, we don't need that space anymore. So the first thing, please make sure you do this, it's part of the greater exercise, is to get right in front of the A in analysis and hit the delete key. That'll take that space out of what you see here in food distributor analysis. Now we're going to force analysis on a second line. To do that, on a Macintosh, we're going to hold the Option key down. And as we hold the Option key down, we're then going to hit Return. And you'll notice what happens. You can see analysis is moved to a second line. You'll see analysis in the formula bar. Don't worry, even though you're seeing analysis on the formula bar, if I hit the left arrow to go back up to where food distributor is, you'll notice that food distributor is what's being displayed. And in fact, it really all is there. And if I click underneath food distributor right here and above the column headings, and I get my cursor that's showing the up and down arrows, if I pull it down, you can see the formula bar now on multiple lines, and you can see that hard return is one of the terms we use for that. That hard return has been forced to put analysis on a second line. The alternative way is to let Excel decide when and where to wrap. This is going to be confusing because the way in which this assignment was set up, it's not visible on a Macintosh. But we're going to move over. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter again to make sure that this is complete. Do make sure you have food distributor analysis. If you get this wrong and you're looking at your scorecard details or you're looking at the live comments report, double click in here and make sure that there is no space So it's R, and if I hit the left arrow, I'm not going to a space, I'm going right down to analysis. If you had a space in there, what would happen is if you're right behind the R, notice now I've got a space in there before I go to analysis. It's not what I want. So make sure that there is no space, that if I were using the arrow over as soon as I get to the R, the next time I push to the right, I immediately go down to analysis. All right. Now I have this on 2 lines. I'm going to move over to the documentation worksheet. Before I do that, this is again a reminder of when you're watching these videos, make sure that what you see on this screen matches what you are supposed to have. That way, if something doesn't look right, you can begin to move backwards and find the mistake. Now, the other way in which we can show that we have a wrap text, again, we're not going to see it in this assignment. They even noted this in the textbook. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the wrap text tool. I'm going to do something to show you that the text actually has been wrapped that we haven't learned yet. We will learn how to adjust columns later in chapter 1, but I'm going to show you if I were to make column C less wide, that we could actually get it so that we actually need multiple lines for the text that we're going to see in C8. Now, I also visibly only have 1 row showing, so I'm also going to make it so row 8 is actually taller. And now you can see, depending on how I have my column width, will determine where that wrap text goes. Unlike the other example that we had just done, analysis is definitely going to be on a new line. I'm going to go ahead and undo what we've done at the very top of the screen. I can use the undo. It's probably for one of the better tools to remember, or one of the better keyboard shortcuts to remember, which is Command Z. And I'm just going to undo all the various things that I did, making sure that wrap text is selected. So I want to see that a darker gray so that the grader report knows that I have selected that property, even if we're not using it at the moment. Go ahead and save, and we've completed this exercise.